Sonic the Hedgehog 3, everyone's favorite film of 2024. This movie ups the stakes, the characters, the emotions, and the nostalgic references to all-time highs, making it without a doubt the best movie in the Sonic trilogy and the best video game movie ever made. But some characters have certainly seen better days, and either had a smaller role or looked a bit weaker than usual. That's why today we're gonna look at every character's role in the Sonic movie 3 and rank them from worthless to elite. And warning, this video spoils the entire plot, so watch at your own risk.
Alright, you know what? Time to light the afterburners.
Sonic starts off looking a lot weaker than usual. When they first encounter Shadow, his entire team gets pummeled by him, and even after he chases him down and gets the chance to land a hit, Shadow effortlessly wins. Then after the gun commander dies, he trusts Sonic to his part of the Eclipse Cannon key, and Sonic holds it for like 10 minutes before Shadow takes it, while again making a complete joke of him. And later, when the good guys and bad guys all try to infiltrate Gun's headquarters in London, Sonic doesn't wait for the shield to be fully disabled, and basically gets himself killed, if it weren't for Tails swooping in last second and launching him through. All of those are pretty bad looks for the Blue Blur, but the second half definitely picks up for him. He saves his family from certain death when the ceiling's collapsing, then betrays his friends and uses the Master Emerald to kick some shadowy ass. And this fight was insanely good. They both end up going super and finally brawl pretty evenly, going blow for blow with each other across the entire planet until the fight makes its way onto the moon, which was awesome, and Sonic somehow pulls through and defeats Shadow. But realizing the hypocrisy in killing him, Sonic decides that revenge does no good for anyone, and it gives him and Shadow a moment to bond over the losses they've endured, and eventually form an alliance to save the planet. Cue an excellent recreation of Sonic Adventure 2's final boss, and the two of them holding off the cannon's ray just long enough to only mess with the moon. Sonic, however, overexerts himself and goes plummeting toward the planet unconscious, prompting Tails and Knuckles to dive after him and teleport to safety. He makes some mistakes and in the end is only the second most powerful Hedgehog, but his growth throughout the movie from not standing a chance against Shadow to defeating Super Shadow is pretty substantial, and of course earns him a spot in Elite.
Good work. Who am I?
This movie doesn't have any weird wedding subplots, so most of the human characters kinda take a backseat, and Tom is no exception. He agrees to help Team Sonic break into the gun base, and most notably, thinks quickly on his feet to secure the other piece of the space colony key after a gun commander takes it. That, however, gets his ass beat by Shadow and triggers Sonic to go on the ensuing rampage. He's not worthless, but he's definitely a lot less involved than the previous movies, so he'll go barely does anything.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Rachel was teasing a couple trailers along with her husband Randall, but apparently those were just disguises worn by Tom and Maddie, so the two of them go in the new faker tier.
Ta-da!
Maddie's biggest contribution was during their infiltration of the gun headquarters, where she pretends to be her sister and bitches out a guard so they let her in. That's kinda it, and while it is something, they probably could have found another way in, so worthless. Dr. Ivo Robotnik is a pretty complicated guy throughout this movie, but ultimately does the right thing. He starts off teaming up with Sonic, quickly betrays him once he meets Papa Eggy, then does some totally healthy bonding with his lost relative, and really just does whatever he says because he's so excited to actually have a family for the first time in his life. He does a couple of smaller things, like developing the suits to get past the lasers in the gun base, but kinda plays sidekick to Gerald. After they boot up the space colony and launch it, he gets a call from Agent Stone who's worried about him, and he dismisses it to go spend more time with Grandpa. Grandpa, however, turns out to be a f***ing psychopath. He wants to blow up the entire planet, including the Ark and everyone on it, when Eggman just wanted to hold it over everyone's head to take over the world. He fights Gerald over it and loses, falling to his death, but not before Tails can catch him, and him and Knuckles help kick some saggy flesh. Now, none of this so far is very impressive, especially losing to this geezer, but his redemption arc after this completely saves his character. He steers the laser away from the planet and does his best to delay the cannon's explosion, and as it implodes on itself, Eggman realizes that the one human that truly, deeply cared about him was Agent Stone, so he does a final, super heartfelt goodbye to his friend, and goes down with his grandpa's creation. He's probably not coming back from that one, which sucks, because Jim Carrey's Eggman has been getting better and better, and he really helps carry these movies. This is probably the best way his character could have gone out though, so I've gotta put him at least up in comes in clutch. Agent Stone was actually more useful than ever in this movie. At the start, Eggman's in a really bad place, and Stone's the only one doing anything. When Team Sonic gets attacked by drones at the Chow Garden, a mysterious motorcycle zooms through and disables them all, which allows the heroes to get out pretty efficiently. Then when they follow it, the figure takes them to Eggman's hidden base, reveals himself to be Stone, and gets the Doctor back up on his feet. After that, he doesn't do much, but that phone call I mentioned earlier actually had him trying to warn Eggman about what Gerald was planning to do, and it could have prevented any of it from happening if Eggman just didn't ignore him. And then yeah, that super emotional moment at the end between him and Eggman was really sweet, and I'm curious to know what they'll do with him going forward now that Eggman's gone. In this movie though, I'm gonna put him in Comes in Clutch. I enjoyed his character a lot more than I thought, and a lot more than I did previously, and he definitely has his moments. Wade Whipple. I was not expecting them to work in the fact that he's Knuckles' trainee warrior, but they did. Knuckles apparently trusted him with the thing he values most, and he gives it up like it's nothing.
Have you tried their never-ending pasta bowl?
The Gun Commander Walters, Olive Garden guy, wasn't a character I was expecting to put on this list, but this movie made me hate him so much that I simply had to. You know how Shadow was all pissed off for being locked up for no reason for 50 years? Yeah? Well, that decision was made by this guy. He's an asshole, and is the main reason Shadow wanted to wreck the planet. Also, he f***ing dies right in the beginning, and his likeness is what almost got Tom killed. So, mega worthless. Tails contributed pretty consistently throughout the movie, but right at the end screws over his chances of a great placement. So Shadow kicks his ass in the beginning, then again when they check out Gerald's old lab, but his pouch of rings is what got him out of that black hole, which was pretty clutch. He then hacks into the force field around the gun base and allows Sonic to get in, but after he tries too early and is gonna get fried, Tails picks him up and throws him, but I'm sorry, there's no way that stopping Sonic's momentum and then pushing him forward got him there any faster. Pretty sure Tails just launched him to his death, but I didn't make the movie. And he really doesn't do much after that until rescuing Eggman, like I said. But after Sonic falls to his death and he's sent to go save him with a ring, he passes out on the way down, and now they're both gonna die. It takes Knuckles going down there himself to pull them all to safety, but come on, he's used to flying. Did he run out of breath or something? I thought he was an alien. I wanted to give him Clutch tier, but after being the exact opposite of Clutch at the very end, I gotta toss him and barely does anything.
Pika Pika!
Knuckles was humiliated most when they confronted Shadow, but he consistently delivers from that point on. After things go awry in the gun base, Knuckles was the last resort element that comes crashing in to cause commotion and get the heroes out of gun captivity. He does just what he's supposed to, but after Shadow gets away with the key, Sonic's livid and wants to go take the emerald to kill Shadow, and Knuckles is the one to stand up to him and say no. They almost get into a full-on brawl, but Knuckles makes his perspective apparent and lets Sonic go and try to get the emerald from Wade. I was kinda hoping they'd fight, but that would either end in Knuckles losing, which is bad for the ranking, or Sonic losing, which wouldn't have allowed the final act to commence. So I guess this was kinda the best way to handle it. Him trusting Wade with the emerald though, kinda dumb. However, him and Tails pull through to stop Gerald, and Knuckles is the guy to save both his pals. He comes in clutch big time at the end, so he deserves a spot up there.
You're a colorful bunch.
Shadow is without question the strongest character in this movie. Sure, he loses to Sonic in their big fight, but for the other 99% of the runtime, he's doing whatever he wants. Taking on waves of guards, no problem. Taking on Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all at once? Pfft, piece of cake. Handling your emotions? Okay, maybe not that. His backstory was handled really well, and his actions all make a lot of sense. He's a very easy character to sympathize with. Him changing sides at the end felt really impactful, and set up for a hell of a finale. And he was able to hold off the laser much better than Sonic, even going on to push the cannon far enough away to save Earth, and surviving the impact in the post-credit scene. So more movie Shadow is a go, and it's gonna be great. He's gotta go.
Elite! In the saggy flesh.
Gerald Robotnik contorted the entire plan from the very beginning. He wakes up Shadow, pulls his grandson in to help fire up the space colony, and plays both of them to fulfill his plan of destroying the world. He uses Eggman's desire to be loved to get the absolute most out of him, and defeats him one-on-one as the cannon charges up. Now, he does lose when some of Sonic's friends join in, but I mean a 1v3 is tough for a regular human. He doesn't achieve his goal, but the movie ends in the way Maria truly would have wanted, and since the dude was suicidal, he got his wish of a sweet release. I think it's going up in Elite. It feels wrong to put him in the same tier as his grandson, who he played the entire film, and since he was the puppet master behind the entire plot, it fits pretty well.
Life's all about the choices we make.
Maria is only seen in flashbacks, obviously, but those do a really nice job of setting up Shadow's despair, because she was the only one on Earth that loved him and didn't see him as a monster, which made her death all the more heartbreaking. She's been dead for 50 years though, so it's out of my hands, worthless, and there you have it.